So Rebe, Janet, Jermaine, even someone representing the spa that Katherine stayed at, stood there in solidarity with Katherine Jackson. And while she made some things clear, Mark, to me, I don't think she set the record straight at all.
I think what's going on, you saw a statement, you may have seen a statement from the Sheriff's Department where they thought they were being used. I think that that's probably the case. I think that there's some kind of competing interests, if you will, and so people are trying to use her being outside of the jurisdiction in order to gain custody and things of that nature. It's a horrible situation. You hate to see it, but it's like a lot of families when you've got somebody who passed away prematurely and you've got young kids and there's a lot of money involved. That's what happens.
A lot of money involved, the fame, of course. And let's not forget what a big family this is. I mean, just to remind people, put up the family tree, if you would, Danny, because you have an enormous number of people, and they're all at play in this situation. The patriarch and matriarch of the Jackson family right there, Joseph and Katherine. Underneath them, their children, Rebe, Jackie, Tito, Jermaine, LaToya, Marlon, Michael, Randy, and Janet. And, of course, Michael's kids, right in the middle of all this, Prince Michael, Paris, and Blanket. Clearly, you have a family divided. Michael's kids have really been the ones in the middle telling the world about the feud. So, Rabbi Shmuley, what do you think is really going on here?
You know, I really don't know, but I know what should be going on. Michael entrusted his children to Katherine's care because he trusted her. He always told me his mother is a saint. She's a woman with a deep spiritual core. I don't think that he had a lot of options should something happen to him, and that's the tragedy. Michael wanted his children to have a normal childhood. This is utterly dysfunctional. This is completely abnormal. This is the kind of childhood that he had. And look at how much it scarred him. You know, when Michael was alive, he went to extremes to shield his kids from any kind of prying, prurient public interest. Here we are on TV talking about Prince, Paris, and Blanket, and they're tweeting, and Michael would never have allowed any of these things.
Yeah.
So someone has to be the adult here. Someone has to step forward and say, you know, the man died. And his legacy is not $500 million fortune. His legacy is, his real treasure was his children. And this is a big, beautiful family, and they once had nothing. Joe Jackson was a steel worker in Gary, Indiana, and they loved each other before the Jackson Five. And I think they have to rediscover their core values. And it would be nice if a pastor, or because they're a deeply religious family, Jehovah's Witnesses, it would be nice if someone stepped in to heal the family and ended the factionalism. But Michael's kids shouldn't be suffering this way.
No, they shouldn't. And obviously, and I agree with you, there should be some intervention. Sometimes it happens long after these things have played out so publicly. And of course, this all became public because Katherine went away and Michael's kids weren't able to reach her. One thing that Katherine made clear in her statement, though, was that she just wanted to take a break. Let's watch that.
I never leave home without leaving instructions of who to stay there with them, the nanny and all of them. And someone had let go the cook, the nanny, and also the housekeepers. I don't know who did that. They don't have that power, and they shouldn't have done it.
And she says the kids were fine. That's what she thought, Mark. Yet the kids weren't able to get a hold of her. They weren't able to speak with her, and they pretty clearly didn't even know where she was. So let's step back for a moment. Could it possibly be, hey, maybe Katherine just did need a break from taking care of the kids and the estate and managing everything, and that this is all some huge misunderstanding? I don't see it that way. But
well, look, she is 80-some-odd years old.
82.
She's always been very vibrant, and then when I knew her and would interact with her, I was always amazed by the amount of energy she had. But yes, she needs a break. I mean, you know, these are rambunctious kids. I haven't seen them in years, but I did have interaction with them when they were much younger, and they're incredibly bright and curious, and they're kids. And now they're teenagers, or you've got at least two of them that are teenagers. This is not something that somebody can do 24/7 when you're in your 80s. So I understand the need for a break, and I agree with Katherine, though, why somebody is letting go of kind of that support structure that she's built around these kids, namely the nanny, the cook, and everybody else who the kids kind of see as their intermediate family or their immediate family, is beyond me.
Yeah, that raises a huge red flag. So you have teenagers, you have social media, and you now have the kids in a position and at an age where they very much want to set the record straight and let people know what's going on. In fact, while Katherine went on and gave that statement, trying to sell her side of the story, or at least tell her side of the story. You have Michael's oldest son, Prince, feeling the need to go on and give his point of view on what really happened while his grandmother was gone. He tweeted this photo. Let's put this up, because this tweet, I can't find it anymore. It doesn't appear to be online, but it shows a series of text messages between him, his aunts Rebe and Janet, and in the message, Prince demands to speak to his grandmother. His Aunt Janet, perhaps not knowing that Prince was going to see this, writes, "Don't let them," or at least that's how it appears. Here's something else that Prince tweeted. "As long as I can remember, my dad repeatedly warned me of certain people and their ways." And Rabbi Shmuley, you and I have spoken about that and Michael's concerns in the past. What would he say about all this?
Listen, I'm not here to judge the Jackson family, because they've been in the public spotlight for half a century, and extreme fame, any extreme circumstance can breed an extreme response. But what is certainly true is that Michael wasn't close to his family. He spent 2 Thanksgivings at our home, and I used to tell him how important it was for him to be with his family. He loved his mother, that was certain.
Right.
But he felt that he had been scarred by his upbringing, and he wanted to raise his children away from it. And now that he died, they're back in the mix. And there's a need for someone to honor his wishes. The way I see it, whenever you have a vacuum, whenever you have a void, bad things can fill it. The void here is, what is Michael Jackson's legacy? Like, he died, but what memories are his children supposed to take? What values did he represent? And the only legacy is that there's a $500 million fortune, and that's why everyone's fighting over it. I mean, Michael never really cared about money. He wasn't good with money. He mismanaged money. What Michael cared about was consecrating his fame to the idea that children are precious and parents should prioritize them. He wanted no one to skip the essential stage of childhood, least of all his own children. We don't hear any of this. There is no legacy. The legacy is his music, his dance, and all this money. I feel if there were greater emphasis on what he himself wanted his legacy to be, his kids could participate in that. Yeah. Then we would see Prince in Paris doing public events to honor the father's memory instead of this. This is ridiculous. And it's damaging, and it's not fair to the kids.
It's not fair, and we can all dream big that someday that will all come around to what's really important.